Hey Denise,
Hey, Christine.
how
Ah,
are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm okay.
Good. It's good to see you here. So I had
Thanks.
confusion with the timing through Calendly. It's supposed to be done in your time zone, so it should translate it.
But it's not like I had a hard time actually adding it to my calendar.
Okay, so
Like Calendly, like for some reason doesn't talk to the mobile me calendar. So I just blocked it off myself, but I went through all the steps and everything. And I even went on
right.
the Apple site and for some reason it's
Yeah.
just not like integrating. So
Right. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention, and I'm going to look into it a little bit more too, so that other people aren't running into that same problem. So I'm glad you brought it forward. Um,
yeah.
really, I'm going to talk to some of my other classmates. So our group is from all over the world. We've got
Hmm.
um, people over in the UK and then down in Brazil, and so I haven't run into that problem myself yet, but I want to diagnose why you had that problem. So thank you.
Yeah. And were you at the event that was like a month ago here in Boulder?
I wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah. Was that the Deeper
Yes.
event? Okay, great. And are you in Deeper?
I'm not, so long story short, I'm friends with Jennifer
Great.
Morrison
Yeah.
and I was not working until like a couple weeks ago. So they needed help like organizing the event and stuff. So I was there just like making sure the coffee was filled and all that kind of thing.
Nice.
So sorry, I'm backlit here at the office.
Yeah. It's hard for me to see your eyes and your face. Is there a way
Yeah.
just to shift?
Yeah, let me just turn I know I'm sitting at a temporary desk, so
Oh, that's okay.
let me just
It's really
see.
interesting lighting. I just can't see your face.
It's just I'm sitting like at the window is like right behind me. Hang on just a second. Let me grab my notebook and I'll sit on the couch.
Perfect.
Here we go. Okay. Let's see if we can just get this going here. There we go.
Oh my gosh, that's so much better. Thank you.
Hmm.
I appreciate that. So then were you there the whole weekend? Did you get to hear a little bit of Jason speak and
I did, yeah, yeah. I mean, it was a little like I wasn't part of the group and everything like that, but I did hear, what he was talking about and all that kind of thing. So
what was that like for you?
it was good. It was, I mean, very interesting, and it sounds like very helpful and useful content. So that's kind of why I signed up for, because I wasn't working for a while, so I had reached out to a couple people to ask for individual coaching, and it was just too expensive for me not having a job. So I thought this might be like the perfect thing.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a really great model the way he has it set up because we're just able to serve so many people. And the
Hmm.
fact that it's virtual, it's really accessible. So I'm glad
Yeah.
that that worked out for you.
Yeah, me too. Now, where are you in California?
I'm in Orange County in Anaheim, very close to Disneyland.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah. So let's get started. I just want to give you a broad overview of kind of where we're going and what's happening through these sessions over the next 6 weeks. They are video recorded, and I know that was in the agreement, but I just wanted to bring it up again just so that there wasn't any confusion or if you had any questions about it. So it's recorded on my computer and I use it with my supervisor. So
Mhm.
it's not something that goes public. It's not something that the relationship school uses. It's within our program, just feedback from my supervisor, from Jason, on what I'm doing and how I can better serve you
Okay,
time together. So I just wanted
great.
to go over that and see if you had any questions.
No, I do the same thing with my clients.
Awesome.
Most of the time, record meetings, and it's helpful to like go back and you know reference what they said exactly rather than notes. So I totally get it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. And then so we'll have 6 sessions together. I know we missed last week, and
and I'm so sorry. I'm usually better with, I just had a little upheaval happening.
Sounds like it. So I just want to go ahead and honor that today's our start date.
Okay.
We'll do 6 weeks, 6 sessions from now, and we have them back to back set up that way right now. So let's just go ahead and start this as session 1. And we'll have 6 sessions going forward. And then as far as the time, I know there was a time difference that you were thinking that we were at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. Is that something that you would prefer to adjust, or will this time work for next Monday? I know we have it scheduled at this time for next Monday.
Yeah, actually, I have a work trip next Monday, so I was going to ask you to move this regardless. The time is fine. I do have a last minute meeting that I have to go to in California, but so I'm not going to be available, but I could do it like later in the day, that same day. And then the other thing, like when I logged into what is it? Calendly?
Yeah, Calendly.
It's like, so I logged in just to the application, and it says I don't have any events scheduled.
Interesting.
Yeah. So let's move. And I think I scheduled all of my sessions on Mondays at the same time, right?
Right.
Okay, great. So I'll put it on my calendar with your Zoom link if we're going to use this.
Yep.
And then we can maybe just find a new time on next Monday would be awesome if you wouldn't mind being flexible.
Not at all. So why don't I shoot you an email later today, and we will figure out, I'll give you maybe 3 or 4, you said later in the day, late afternoon?
Yeah, I think like I have a client meeting, like, let me look at my other, like my 7th calendar. I have my personal calendar, my Gmail calendar that's for looking for a job, and then this work calendar is a Gmail calendar. So it's like, okay, I have a work meeting until 5, no. Oh, geez. 6 o'clock. Actually, you know what? I could do like during the day on Tuesday next week, or I could do like later, like 7, 8 o'clock your time on Monday.
Okay. Monday, I have a training from 4 to 8, but why don't we circle back and see what we can do on Tuesday then?
Okay.
And I'll send you a couple options, and then if none of those work, you can send me a couple options, and we'll do that.
Sure. Yeah. Great. Perfect.
Awesome. Where are you going to be in California?
Sunnyvale?
Oh, up north. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny that you think that's north.
North. Well, it's not as far as Sacramento, but it's above Central Valley, right?
Oh, I've never been there before, so I don't really know. It's kind of by Mountain View, right?
Yeah. So I don't think it's quite as far. Well, Mountain View, maybe it is north of the Bay Area.
Because when we were looking for hotels, Mountain View kept coming. It's like by San Jose, actually, I should say.
Okay. Yep. So south of San Francisco, but kind of.
Okay. All right. I'm turned around then. See, I don't know California.
Okay. The plane will get you there, and then
and I'll just take a cab, and it'll be great.
Awesome. Okay. So I'll send you that later today, and we'll get next Tuesday set up.
Cool.
Okay. So you're friends with Jennifer. That's awesome. She's such a doll and such a support. So that's kind of how you found your way to the relationship school. Is that right?
Yes.
Awesome. And so what brings you to coaching?
Well, to be totally honest, like I have a really hard time. I'm having a hard time with my partner right now, but I have a really hard time in general, like having difficult conversations. I personally get upset very easily at anything, whether it be happy, sad, anything that's like stressful. And so I tend to avoid having difficult conversations at all. But like specifically right now, like I'm really not happy in my romantic relationship. So yeah.
Hmm. What would be an example of a difficult conversation for you?
Um,
Maybe given in the context of your relationship.
of my romantic relationship.
Yeah.
I guess like I'm having trouble. So, and I might as well give you the backstory, right? Because if we're going to be working together. So I lived in New York for a very long time, and I met someone, Dave, who's my current partner, and we basically were good friends, and we used to sleep together.
Hmm.
He always said he never wanted a girlfriend. He um, never wanted to make a commitment. And so we were just good friends. We would like chat online, text message. I would go over to his house and we would fool around, occasional sleepovers. And so then that happened for like probably, I would say 20, not like 15 years. And then I left New York for like 4 years, and I went back for a year. And when I went back, like we became much closer. We saw each other a lot more, whatever. Um, and then when I left again, because I was coming back to Boulder, and he would always have more than one sexual partner. Like he was sexting people. He was having an affair with this married woman. Like, and I knew all this stuff.
Hmm.
And so, and there were a couple times when I had to go to the urgent center because he, was thinking with his dick, and just not being careful and stuff. And so, like, not long story short, I shouldn't say it that way, but when I got back here, I was working, and he sent a text message that was meant for someone else, clearly. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm an adult. I'm almost 50. Like, I want to have an adult relationship. Like, we could be friends. That's totally fine. But like, I'm done with this. Like, I'm done with the whole. And the other part of it was like, just in our history, like he would never show up for me and things. Like, I don't even know why this is a question for me right now, but he would never show up for me to things. He would never, like, I used to do pottery. He would never come to my pottery shows. He would never come to birthday parties. Like, he just didn't show up. And I was always like showing up for him when he was sick or breaking up with someone, or when he, all this drama. And so when he sent me that message and I was like, I'm done, he was like, no, 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 I want to be the person. And I was like, I'm not moving back to New York, and you can't sext or have sex with other people. Like, I was just like, I've been to urgent center a bunch of times,
Right.
was in the hospital one time. Like, I was just like, I'm done with this. So
Right.
he decided that he wanted to make a commitment. He moved out here. But like, the whole thing is that I'm afraid that like we were better friends than we are partners. And I don't want to hurt him. He's like super sensitive. I don't want to hurt him, but like there's just a lot of qualities as a person that I don't like about him that I would get in little snippets when I would go over. And so I don't know, like, do I not like him as a person? And how do I say that without being like, I really don't like you as a person, as my partner? You know what I mean? Like, he mansplains to me. He interrupts me all the time. He doesn't listen. He's kind of lazy. He grew up wealthy. And so he just kind of has never had to make an effort of like kind of anything.
And how old is he?
52, and I'm 49.
Okay.
So he's like he's like an adult baby almost. He's like an adult 14-year-old little boy. We're like, and anything that he never made a lot of money, so his parents would just like help him out. But they bought him an apartment in New York, and he would like do graphic design and whatever and bartend to pay the bills. But anytime he got in a snag, his mom would just give him $10,000 or whatever. And that's just not like, I don't know. It's not attractive to me. And it's like, so then when he moved here, he just didn't live in reality. You know what I mean? You know how like those movie stars, Paris Hilton and all those like super rich kids. There's a movie about it where they have no concept of reality and how real people live. That's like not quite Dave, but kind of.
Mm. Now, when you say that, do you mean responsibilities and paying the mortgage and showing up to work and
Yes.
being financially responsible for ourselves?
Yes.
And yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And
We're
you're,
like, and part of the reality is like when he moved here, I'm like, he just had no concept of how much it costs to actually do things. Like he didn't have a driver's license until like a month ago. So it's like you have to pay for like mortgage insurance. You have to pay your mortgage. You have to like um, pay your bills, buy groceries, buy, you know what I mean? Like all that stuff. He had no concept of like how much life really costs because he never really had to pay for anything himself. You
mm,
know, he in New York, he paid like $300 a month because his mom bought him an apartment. So it wasn't like, you know what I mean?
right. And are these things that you're describing right now things that now you've noticed since he's moved out and
Yes.
he's here in Boulder, I'm
Yes.
assuming. Okay.
Yeah.
And as you
Sorry, that was like a long diatribe of why I don't like my partner.
yeah, and what I'm getting is some frustration of like
hmm
reality that
Yes.
maybe these are things that you are solely responsible in your life, and the contrast for him, I'm getting that there's some frustration that like he doesn't do all of those things that you do, those adult things, those grown-up things.
Right. And so then, and another thing is like, you know, he didn't make that much money. And I guess his parents don't hand him over money like whenever, but like anytime that he wanted to do anything with his friends, he was like, oh, I can't afford it. The plane ticket's too expensive. So someone would cover the plane ticket for him. Someone would cover a hotel for him. I don't have a driver's license. Someone would drive. And so all that falls on me now.
Mm,
You know what I mean? So it's like all those little people enabling him is like me included before this, but like now it's all on me. And it's just not like I never want to have sex with him. I don't find him attractive anymore because I don't, it's just like he's not an adult.
mm, yeah, I can see that. So as you describe that to me, what's the feeling underneath all of that? When you describe like I don't want to have sex with him, he's not financially responsible, I'm enabling him, I have enabled him in the past.
I think I feel disappointed.
In
I was going to say in him, but I feel disappointed in myself. It's like I kind of knew all this stuff
hmm,
and I didn't think that it would bother me as much as it does, but it really bothers me. And I also think that I settled for less than what I really deserve. Like I think I deserve someone who is more of a grown up, you
mm,
know, and he doesn't like in other stuff. And Jennifer and I, you know, we're talking about like, what do you really want? What are the qualities that you like have to have in a partner and what can't you accept? And it's like all the things that I want and all the things I can't accept are both Dave. It's like he doesn't work on himself. He doesn't work out or go to the gym or anything. This isn't his fault, but he's like tall, skinny, and can eat whatever he wants.
mhm.
Like, and I have to work my ass off for like every single thing, you know? Like I get up at 4 to go to the gym every morning. I can't eat shitty sugary food because I'll get fat. Like, you know, all that stuff is like it's like every single thing in his life he doesn't have to try for. And because he doesn't have to try for it, like he doesn't try, you know, he doesn't make an effort. I want to travel. Like I just got back from Egypt, I was telling you. Um, he doesn't want to travel. Like it's like he could barely come to Brooklyn when I lived in New York, let
Mm,
alone like take a trip. And so I think I feel one of the long answer to your question is like one of the things I feel is resentment.
resentment building.
hmm
Yeah. And you mentioned disappointment at yourself. Like you feel disappointed in yourself.
I
That
do.
was it settled, the word that you've used, like settled for something that
Hmm.
doesn't feel what would you say? That doesn't feel as
Um, it feels, it doesn't feel good enough.
mm. And do you know what's kept you in it?
He just got here last year.
Okay.
And for him, like moving out of New York and declaring that he had a girlfriend and everything was like a huge big deal.
For
And
him?
so I feel like I want to give him a chance. And so I don't know if like, I almost want to do like couples therapy as well.
Mhm.
But he stopped therapy as soon as he made this decision. And so again, he's not working on himself. So I've stayed in it because I feel like I should give him a chance and I should give maybe us a chance.
Mhm. Do you feel really ready to be committed and working on this?
Yes, because I just don't like, I can't keep living like I've been living over the past, 6 months because I am super not happy.
Yeah. And when you described resentment, it's like living in a place of consistent or low grade resentment all the time on our body, on our
Hmm.
psyche, on our energy level. Like that is a constant state of stress within ourselves, within yourself, that
Hmm.
I can imagine that takes a toll.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's all the time. And it's like, like I just got this job where I'm at the office and no one's here, but everyone works remotely. I didn't have to come to the office, but like I get up and go to the office so I don't have to be at home.
Oh, you guys live together.
We do.
Okay. Okay.
So, which exasperates it like times a million. I think if we had, oh, and the other thing to keep complaining about Dave is that he, because he doesn't work on himself and because he moved here and he doesn't really have any friends, he's home all the time. I have zero, zero, zero alone time. I mean, the only alone time I have is in the car.
Mm,
And
wow.
I even sort of like off the cuff said like, go take a class. You need to do something. Like you need to go out and meet people. And he's like, I walk to town or whatever. And I'm like, that doesn't count. Like it's hard to, I lived alone for a very long time and I loved it. I loved having alone time and just like not having to talk to anyone. There's no noise. I could do whatever I want. But like, you know, it's a problem. And he just went from being a recluse in New York to being a recluse here with one person and two cats. Like,
Right. So when you said in the beginning a difficult conversation, like that's really hard for you, what would be the difficult conversation that you're seeing?
I mean, and that's the thing. I don't know. Like, should I just say the difficult conversation of without being kind and without hurting his feelings?
What would be the topic? What would you be saying?
Well, that's what I'm asking you is should I just tell you what I want to say to him? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to say like you interrupt me all the time. You don't listen to me. I feel like our relationship is like fake or surface level. It seems like you're tiptoeing around me, and I don't want to go to him with like a whole laundry list of like things basically that are like these are all the things that are wrong with you, but like you don't work on yourself, you never leave the house, I have no alone time, and you know I don't know, it just makes me like not attracted to you, and I don't want to have sex with you because it's you seem like you're a 15-year-old little boy who just wants praise instead of a grown adult. Like I want more. I want someone different. I want different.
And how are you feeling in all of that?
I feel like that's super mean and basically like, I don't like you as a person. And that makes me feel very sad.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Let's just slow down right there.
I mean, part of the reason I haven't said anything is because like I would rather be hurt myself than hurt other people. And it just makes me sad to think of hurting him.
Mm.
Because I've experienced when he has broken up with people or told people that he doesn't want to be in a relationship anymore. And he, like, it crushes him. And I know that part of it is like not my responsibility, but I don't know, I can't separate like how other people's feelings are none of my business. Like I can't, I can say that, but I can't grasp it myself.
So part of you feels like by you sharing with him something that could potentially hurt his feelings, that has you hold back from saying anything.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I can see why some of these things are really difficult to share. It sounded like a lot of them were about him. You know,
Yeah.
you're not working on yourself. You're always around. You don't have any other friends. You seem like all you want from me is praise. You know, it sounds like those things, the way that you have them set up, it could be hurtful for him, could not be. You know him better than I do. But I'm wondering, underneath all of that, how do you feel in the relationship with him? Do you feel like a caretaker? Do you feel disregarded? Do you feel not important, on a priority? Like, how would you describe how you feel inside the relationship with him, given all of the things that you described?
I feel like his mother.
Okay. Yeah.
And I said so well, I was out of town. He like met up with a friend of mine a couple times. Um and he said to her, like, I feel like I was put in this earth to make Chrissy happy. And while that's sweet and everything, I said that to him like 5 years ago about me.
Oh,
I
okay.
said that about me to him.
You felt like you were put here for his
Yeah, but he just stole it. You know what I mean?
happiness.
Or maybe he didn't steal it. Maybe he feels that way, but
And how did you feel when you heard your friend share that with you?
sad.
Why sad?
It just made me feel sad. Like, if I don't want to be in the relationship, it's just going to crush him even more that he said that. And I also don't, it makes me feel nervous. Like, that's like a big, not responsibility, but it's like a big weight on my shoulders. Like, that's not fair to me. I
Hmm.
don't want to be someone's sole reason for being on this earth. Like, no, thank you.
Right. Right. So that feels like a lot of weight on your shoulders.
And when I said it to him, I wasn't saying it specifically about him. I was saying, like, I feel like I was put on this earth to like nurture other people, including him at the time.
Right. Right. So, what is it that you want him to know? What is it that you, deep down, underneath all of the ways and the things that he's showing up, what's underneath the difficult conversation that you really need to share with him?
I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. That's okay.
I mean, part of me thinks that what I want him to know is I think that we were better friends than we were life partners. Um, and part of me thinks like maybe I just don't, maybe I'm just not good at it.
Good
Maybe,
at
maybe,
what?
maybe I'm just meant to be alone. Like maybe it's me,
Good at relationship, good at
Yeah. Good
communicating.
at all of that. Relationship, community. Like maybe I'm just meant to be alone and not be in a relationship or have a partner.
Hmm. What would you say is in the way?
I think communication.
Communication. Does that feel a little scary?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. What feels scary about it?
I don't like hurting people, and I mean, I think like, and this is going to go back to my dad where like growing up, um, anything that was like, we made a mistake or I mean, it could be something stupid as like spilling milk on the kitchen floor. Like my dad would get, I mean, it was like the whole world was falling apart. He would get so mad and yell and everything. And I think like I stopped being honest about feelings or mistakes or anything like that because because of that reaction. And this, it just comes from therapy, obviously, but like, when I growing up, we didn't learn, um, we didn't learn how to have a hard conversation
Yeah.
at all. And when I was at my parents' house, after my dad died 2 weeks ago or whenever it was, anything I say to my mom, she acts so hurt.
Hmm.
Instead of like having a conversation about like a difficult, I don't know, we were doing something. What did I say to her? I was like, Mom, can you let me finish? You're just interrupting me. And she was like, oh, I was just trying to, uh, and she's so dramatic about it. And it's like, that's where that comes from for me, is not being able to take in, I'm hurt or whatever, by my mom and my dad. My dad, it was like kind of two sides of the same coin.
So you're saying
Um,
you see how your mom is in that situation where she's
yeah,
so hurt, and are you saying you feel responsible in that moment?
I'm just saying, yeah, I feel responsible, but I'm also saying, like, for me, it's hard to like give or receive hard feedback because I I don't think that good at I don't think I'm good at it as far as like how I say things.
How
And I
you
also,
speak.
yeah, like the actual words to it. Um and I also think like getting, difficult feedback from another person, like it crushes me.
Yeah.
And that comes from my mom. And like being able to say things to another person comes from my dad, where he would scream instead of being like, okay, let's talk about this.
Right. So what you just described, can you see how on one hand you weren't shown how to have that type of conversation, and I heard
Mm,
you say like I I heard you take responsibility in saying, I don't know that I know how to communicate that well, because there's a part of you that had a dad that just flipped out. And so, I heard you take responsibility and say, maybe I don't know how to communicate it well. And that is huge. Like, I want to celebrate you right there, because being able to see, maybe I don't quite know how to do that in that moment when I feel maybe vulnerable, or when I'm concerned about the other person and how they're going to receive it.
Mm-hmm.
Does that feel true?
Yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah.
I mean,
so how does that feel then when you're in that moment, when you're going to say something to your mom? What is it that you're feeling in that moment? Because you're saying, Mom, hold on a second, you're interrupting me, or whatever it was. What is it that you were feeling in that moment that maybe had that tone of voice or that way?
I mean, I think I felt like frustration that at that moment, she was interrupting me and I felt frustrated.
Right.
And, it was like, I'll make this up, but it was like out of 25 conversations I had with her, that was like the one that I was like, can you please stop interrupting me? Because she would do it every single time. So I just felt nervous, like, to bring it up one time because I knew that but I was also frustrated that, we'd had so many conversations and she kept doing it, or she would ask me a question and then I started to answer and then she would fill the rest of the answer and keep talking and like not even, so that makes me feel like not heard, or that she and people don't care about how I feel. It's like, I'm just like, and Dave does that too. It's like, okay, do you just want to talk at me? Because that's what you're doing.
You're saying you feel like he just talks at you, but isn't really with you in the conversation.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. What's that like?
It makes me feel sad. It makes me feel like not truly seen or cared for. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, to go back to your question about how it was to be at the event with, all these people, like I sat in the back, like crying pretty much the whole time, thinking like, I'm not even good enough to do this. Like, there's no way that I could have gone to that event and not sat there and cried the entire time and participated with everyone. There's no way.
How come?
I don't know. It's upset. Like, it was upsetting, and it makes me feel like, I guess all this. And the person that I was talking to did the relationship school. Like, she's friends with Jennifer, and that's how they know each other. But she brought up, she was like, it seems like a pattern with your mom that you guys don't like let your voice be heard and say like, hey, you're interrupting me. Can I finish what I was saying? Or you're not listening to me or whatever. And my mom totally does that with men, basically, where she just lets them talk at her. And I do the same thing. And it's because, and so she's like, Ashley was like, it's a habit that you probably learned from your mother, and you probably do it with a lot of people because you give out that vibe. And I think like, and that's what I need to change is like, if you care to listen to me, then great, and if not, I don't want to be in your life anymore as a friend or whatever. I don't know if I answered your question. I think I went off on a tangent there.
Yeah, well, it feels important to say that you're noticing that you allow people to continually just talk at you without revealing what's happening inside. Because it sounds like you described what's happening inside is I feel frustrated. I feel disregarded. I feel like you're just talking like I'm a wall, which to me is like, I could be here or not. Doesn't make a difference. It's not contributing anything. And so what you're noticing is that you don't reveal what's happening inside of yourself when that's going on. You allow somebody to talk at you without saying, hey, hold on a second. I don't feel like you're really talking with me. Can feel
Mm-hmm.
like you're just going on and on and on in a story, you know, without taking that risk and saying, I don't really feel like I'm with you. Do you feel like I'm with you?
Mm-hmm.
And that dynamic is
I'm just writing that down because I like that sentence.
absolutely. And that I what I'm sensing is that you're starting to outgrow that dynamic. And what seems like is happening is you're noticing it and starting to ask questions on, this doesn't feel good anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be right?
Yeah.
And to me, that's the juice, right? When we start to ask a different question, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
this doesn't feel good anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
No, just you're right. It doesn't feel good anymore. And I'm just, I'm like at a major breaking point where something has to change
Right.
in me.
Yeah, and that's really the only power we have.
Right.
And I think what you said in the beginning really speaks to what we're talking about right now is the difficult conversation, right? Because it seems like what you're describing is it's difficult for me then to insert myself, to bring myself into the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So go ahead.
No, I'm just listening to you.
Yeah. So what would, since we've talked about what we've talked about so far, what now would be what would be kind of the goal or trajectory over these next 5 weeks? What is it that you want my support in what we've talked about, in you being in your relationship? How can I support you over these next 5 weeks?
Um, I mean, I don't know if you tell me what you think. Like, part of me thinks, like, should I have a goal of like having one difficult conversation with Dave? Maybe it's a not smaller one, but maybe it's not about the entire relationship, but maybe it's like, hey, I just want to give you some feedback. Like, you interrupt me all the time and it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, maybe it's something like that. Or
Can I stop you right there?
yeah.
So the way that you just said that right now has me feeling like, whoa, like, oh shoot, she's gonna fight. Oh gosh. Like, I better be ready. Even just the way that you said that had me feeling like, oh no, I need to
Oh,
have my defenses on. Like, shit,
uh-huh.
it's about to go down.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So in the way that I would be conscious of the way, what's going on inside of you and how do you want to share with him?
And so that I would say that's the goal, is not to say that to him, but like, how can I say all the things that I told you in the past 45 minutes in a kind and as like loving and caring way as possible? And even though it probably is going to hurt his feelings or bring up some negative emotions for him, some sadness or whatever, like, I just want to be able to, and that's that. I think that would be the thing, is like to get on the path of being able to say things in a kind and caring way to people that isn't so abrasive, like you just said. I don't know if abrasive is the right way, but like so defensive or so like combative. That's my goal. That is my goal, because I right now don't have the tools enough to not go like, hey, you fucking interrupted me 25 times. It pisses me off, you know?
Right.
Like, and I wouldn't say it that way, I don't think.
But
But
that's probably how you feel inside.
yeah, I do.
25 times in the span of a couple days and you haven't said anything, I would feel the same way.
Yeah.
I would be like, I'm fucking done. So that
Yeah.
may be how you feel, and that's okay. But I've seen you share here with me in a way that I feel very a part of what you're sharing. I feel my own vulnerability. I feel my own sensitivity, my own softness in listening with you. So, what would you say is different about where you are right now when we've been talking over these past 45 minutes?
I mean, it just feels like,
What's the difference, I guess?
it feels like it just feels like a weight is lifted. Like, like I said, not like I said something, but like I was able to be, and I don't like crying in front of people. I hate being vulnerable.
Mm.
And, most of the time when I do it, like I cried to my mom and then I was like, fuck, she's going to use that against me somehow. Not she's going to use it against me, but she's not, she's going to like she can't keep her mouth shut sometimes. I'm like, please just don't say please don't say anything. Like, and then I find out that she says stuff that I haven't said. And it just feels like a betrayal. And it also feels like, can't you just shut the fuck up? And not that I think Dave would do that, but like, I have a trust issue around sharing my feelings and being vulnerable because it feels like then people have something on me or, something.
So sharing from that place that feels vulnerable and intimate
Mm-hmm.
feels really scary, and it brings up trust issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I guess it's not weird. Like, it's harder for me to do with people that I'm close with than to do with someone who's like a coach or a therapist or a doctor or something like that, because I don't know, it's like I'm paying you or something. I'm not sure.
Well, and we have a space between you and me that has confidentiality,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I don't take this and go share it with my friends. I don't take this and go talk to anybody, your
Mm-hmm.
friends, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we have a space that has trust and confidentiality here.
Yeah.
Would you say that that helps you?
Yes, for sure.
So is that something you could ask for?
What do you mean, like not sharing?
So if you went to Dave and said, "Hey, I'd like to share something with you. It feels really vulnerable. And what would help me is knowing that this conversation stays between you and me." It's like, how could you set this up to make it feel like you can give yourself permission to be vulnerable?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you need? What does Chrissy need in that moment with him so that you feel safe to share?
I think what I need to, going back to it, is like the tools to say things in a kind and loving manner, because I'm afraid to sit down and say something because I'm afraid that I'm going to, and I know it's going to be messy regardless of what it is, but like I want to try to keep my side of the street clean as possible. Um, and I know that not being honest with him is hurtful because it's, I know that he knows something's wrong and it's not fair. So, I just want to try to be like as kind and as honest as I possibly can and leave it as little destruction as possible.
Mm,
And I know that sounds dramatic, but like, I'd like it to be like maybe an amicable split, or maybe he changes, or I don't know,
right,
something.
right. It sounds like that's down the road in the future, but right now
Yeah.
it would be, I keep hearing the word, you said kindness. I was hearing gentle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can you go into this process being kind and gentle with yourself? You described like feeling afraid to share. And when I think about, a little kid being afraid, it's like I would want to be as kind and gentle with that scared little one as I could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so going into sharing, is it okay to be afraid and be kind and gentle with yourself
Mm-hmm.
and share anyways? And maybe say, what would it be like for you to say, I want to share this with you, but I'm kind of feeling a little afraid of how you're going to receive it. Or I'm kind of afraid of that I don't have the right words. It's like, what would it be like to kind of name that first?
Mm-hmm.
So that you give him some context and you give yourself permission to not get it right and to feel afraid and to do it anyways.
Mm-hmm. And that I mean, I guess that kind of is what I've imagined when I imagine like talking to him, is saying like, I need to talk to you, and um I'm afraid, I'm going to get upset. I'm afraid I'm going to upset you. I'm afraid I'm going to not say this the best that I can, or, whatever. But I don't have the confidence right now that have the gentle and caring words to do that, to like, I don't know. I don't have the confidence that I have the skills and the tools to be as kind and gentle as I can. Because I think like I'm so emotional about it that the extremes take over,
Mm-hmm.
instead of being, not right in the middle, but closer to the middle than on either side. Either like so emotional and crying or whatever, or like so cold that it's like I don't care. Like, I would rather be somewhere in the gray area than black or white.
Right. So what would be really helpful for you then going into that, uh, sharing that with him? What would be helpful for you in leaning into that conversation?
Um, I mean, maybe like writing up like, and the other thing, like, I don't want to go into a conversation with him and have a list of things that are wrong. Like I said, I would like to start like with one thing and ease into, maybe about the interrupting, and
Right.
start that like.
So maybe then it would be helpful. How would you want to receive that? Right. To envision, like, if you knew he was going to share that with you, how would you want that to be delivered? How would you want to receive that? And get really clear with what your intention is.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because I want more connection between the two of us, and this has me feeling like disconnected from you? Is it because I want to, it's like, get really clear with what is the intention and how do you want to feel, and maybe using that to communicate with him, like you said, instead of the long laundry list.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the deeper desire that's down there of what you really want to feel, getting really clear on that might help support your communication so that you
So when
can stay in the middle, right? Which to me, in the middle seems with myself.
But when you say what is the intention, how do I want to feel, do you mean about the whole relationship or about just having a conversation, like having one conversation?
Right. So I would say two things. It would be, how do you want to feel going into the conversation?
Okay.
That's the place of how do you want to be with yourself? How can you be with yourself? You mentioned kindness.
Okay.
And then around the conversation, you mentioned what might be helpful is writing up some stuff. And I would encourage you, like you said, not to do a long laundry list, but to, if you would want to talk to him about not interrupting, how do you want to feel? it's like, yes, you want him to stop interrupting you. And you mentioned that you allow that to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And how does that have you feel? And what do you really want? I'm
Okay.
guessing there's a need and a desire that's not being met. You said you don't feel seen.
I mean, I would say, like, just to answer the question right here, I want to feel heard and I want to feel respected. It doesn't feel respectful to be interrupted.
Yeah.
And it does feel, and I don't know how old you are, but I do feel like men my age still grew up in that, like, that women are inferior, whether they were blatantly taught that or whether they just learned it because that's the way the world worked at the time. But I feel like my generation still has that whole, like, men do that with women,
And then the other side of that would be women allow that to happen.
and women allow it to happen. You're right.
Right?
Absolutely.
So there's a two-sided dynamic that I'm hearing you say feels generational.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
we have to be really clear that that's a two-sided thing happening too.
You're right.
Right?
Yep, it is.
So how can I take responsibility for my side of that dynamic so that I can contribute to shifting it?
Yep.
Yeah. And so maybe it is some writing. You mentioned writing. Maybe it's writing and supporting yourself that way and in how it is that you want to communicate. And looking around for models or examples of people that are in your life that in a way that they communicate to you feels really good.
Okay.
How are you feeling right now?
Good. I feel so much better. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you seem a little more grounded.
Yeah. And of course, I fully intended not to cry. But
how did that feel, though, to cry here with me? You don't know me. This is the first time we've met.
it feels like very vulnerable. It does. And it's hard, but it's almost easier because we don't know each other to do. And I guess I feel like crying makes me feel like someone has something over me, or, like I want to have this tough exterior, like I'm cool and fine and grounded and all that stuff. And so, like, opening up kind of tears all that down.
And does that feel like it tore a lot of things down, or how would you say that it went today?
I think good. I think, like, it was definitely unexpected. And it feels like, for me, it feels like a good starting call, a good starting session. It definitely feels like a good starting session.
Yeah. That's so great to hear.
Yeah.
Can I share with you how it feels over here for me?
Yes, please.
I feel very let in. And I feel honored. I feel respected that you would share this part of yourself with me. And it's the feeling of like sisterhood.
Oh.
Right? It's the feeling of being with each other. Like, I feel very present and with you during this time.
Thank you.
And so I appreciate your vulnerability and your trusting in me and in yourself in sharing this with me.
Thank you. I'm so glad.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So am I. I'm always grateful for the time, but especially today. This feels like such a beautiful start.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, I just want to honor our time. I know you're in a work day today, so we are at time. I'm going to email you later today, and we can figure out our next session time for next week.
Okay.
And then also, I'm available via email if there's anything, any ahas or anything you wanted to share over this next week.
Okay.
If there's something that you say, what was that? We talked about this, but what can you remind me? I'm available to support you via email this next week between our next 2 sessions.
Oh, great. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. So reach out. I'm here.
Okay. Thank you so much. It was so nice to connect, and I'm so glad we're going to be working together.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Okay. Well, have a beautiful rest of your Monday.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.